Did we agree to do a bit? I don't.
I don't. At this point, I think the bit is here to stay, and it's here to ruin us.
Yeah.
It's here to
Well.
absolutely tear us apart. It's the shadow that lurks in the dark. I
It.
think that's the bit.
Yeah. No, I think so. I think that the bit is
Yeah.
just. I think the bit is us trying to start a podcast. Generally, that's
Yeah.
now the
From the
bit.
very beginning.
Yeah.
It's become the bit
Yeah.
because we were so obsessed with the bit. I went a little too far last time, I'll admit. I did sell some bits. We didn't get a lot of money from it, I'm just gonna be honest,
Yeah.
Oliver.
Well.
It's just
Hmm. Well, I mean, you just have to track my personal life, and you'll see that I have no expectations for a lot of money. So don't worry about it. It's fine.
oh, well,
So
thank
I
God.
am very well
Okay,
conditioned to not having.
cool. Alright.
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay. So
That's good.
welcome back to the podcast. Uh,
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
we're today, this evening for Mike, this afternoon for me.
Yes, yes.
We will be
Wherever you are in the world.
wherever you might be in nowhere land space. We're gonna be talking about reviews and scores for video games.
That's
Um,
right,
yeah. So,
and we nailed that intro.
dude, killed it.
Fucking awesome.
we, this is a big thing right now in the moment. A lot of people are talking about, and a lot of the communities I'm in are talking about Starfield, big Bethesda
That's right.
game, supposed to be the greatest game of all time, right, or something. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know. I don't know. I don't play Bethesda games. I've only
it, yeah, there's a big following behind Bethesda
Yeah, for
RPGs.
sure. It's a huge franchise,
Uh,
not a franchise, but it's a huge company that makes a certain type of game that people really dig, and all good.
mhm.
But there's been a lot of talk about review scores. What does a 10 out of 10 actually mean, and what is the value that a review and a score specifically um,
And what does that
give?
mean to the consumer?
Right. What does that mean to you, audience?
The individual.
Right. So last time we did a new thing where we made a survey, and we passed it out to a few friends, and we got some pretty cool responses. So this time we did it again because why not?
It's free real estate.
It's free real estate, and we went further. We passed it on to more people, and we got a lot more responses and really interesting questions and stuff. So uh, we're just gonna jump into it.
Let's get right into it.
Yeah. So the first question, and this is just a multiple choice one, was how often do game reviews affect your purchases? Mike, how often do game reviews affect your purchases?
I really try to avoid most reviews, especially for if it's a game I'm really interested in and I know I'm gonna play it. Like, sure, sometimes like it'll like come out like saying like, "Oh, this game isn't great." The game you're looking forward to for a while or however long wasn't great. You should probably consider your purchase. I'll usually hear that down through the grapevine, but at the same time, like even if if I'll be stubborn about it, I'll be like, "No, I'm gonna play this game anyway. I'm gonna see
Right.
for myself. I want to see what's up with this game."
Yeah.
So I'll still do that despite reviews. And a lot of times I find reviews, they well, there are spoiler reviews, they do note that, but, like, a lot of times for a game I'm excited about, I don't like to know what to expect. I wanna go in as fresh as possible. I
Yeah.
don't wanna, read someone else's emotions as they, felt the game that I'm already knowing I'm going to play, so I usually, leave that stuff by the wayside. What about
Yeah.
you, Oliver?
Yeah. About the same. I feel like I know if I'm gonna like something for the most part, or I'm willing to take the risk of just finding out on my own. Um,
Mhm.
so there is an issue, and I think part of the Starfield thing, this is also part of that, is that there's an issue of hype and overhyping or underhyping or whatever,
Right,
and
right.
and the media, the games media, and journalists kind of play into that a lot, as much,
Yeah,
uh, and it influences how the community reacts to that. And to
right.
me, it's just like it becomes so noisy. It's like, man, I'm
Yeah.
better off
I
just Yeah.
hype is a business, right? So it's like they've made it
Right.
a business, like the business of getting clicks. People will look at their reviews so they can keep making reviews, so they can get sponsorships and ads on their website and all these things. So
Yeah. I
it's a whole thing.
yeah, I actually like reading reviews after I've played the game. I th-
Right. Yes.
I think it's more interesting to hear what the conversation was and then see how I what my takes are on it and like maybe there are things I didn't think about when playing the game or things I didn't notice. I think that's pretty interesting. But for the most part, um, yeah, I tend to either just go in blind or take the risk and just not like a game and just be like, well, yeah,
Right.
that's gonna happen. So I can't.
Right.
I don't like having that expectation that everything I play has to be like incredible all the time because that's just not what life is. So I just kind of
Right. Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, you want the best for it, but you just gotta measure yourself.
Yeah. So the response options were always, often. Oh, so let me actually read the question again. How often do games affect your purchases, or game reviews affect your purchases? The answers were always, often, sometimes, rarely, or never. So the I'll give you the answers here. Let's start with the smallest one. Never was 5.3% feel that
To
it
the
would.
one person,
Yeah. So
one person put that
add
in
two more because it seems like we feel the same.
there.
I didn't vote in any of this, so
Yeah,
uh,
same, same.
yeah. Next up, with 26.3%, it's very specific. Often, which is pretty interesting. That's the highest rating.
Interesting, yeah,
Yeah, no one put always, so 26% of you
right,
guys think it affects you often. 31% think it affects or feel that it affects you rarely, and then 36.8 sometimes. So kind of around the ballpark. Like everyone's basically the same. It seems that it's somewhere between
right,
often and
in that middle,
rarely. Um,
yeah,
yeah. So I think that kind of shows that at least within our circles, it does matter somewhat, right? Doesn't
right,
so
yeah,
yeah, and I kind of agree. I think it matters somewhat, especially to the discourse and stuff. But personally, I knew I was gonna get Tears of the Kingdom. Like I didn't need nobody to tell me it was gonna be a good game, you know.
exactly,
And if it
yeah,
was gonna be a bad game, it was still something I'd want to find out on my own, um,
mhm,
to better understand why it was a bad game and kind of you know I don't like being told why
right,
things are bad. I kind of feel like I want to find out for
exactly, yeah.
myself. All right, you want to do the
Whether
next
good
one?
or bad, yeah.
Right.
Alright, let's look at the next one.
This is a little hard to read though, but like the answers are kind of like all over the place. I
I
don't
don't
know
know
why.
how we can change that. Uh,
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think if you just hover over, this is some inside baseball. If you just hover over, it'll tell you, it'll read it out for you.
it's like, teaching Discord.
Yeah. All right,
Alright,
go ahead.
the second question on the survey is, which websites or publications do you visit for your reviews? And so this is a write-in uh, part of the survey, and we got a lot of responses here.
Yeah, like everybody kind of put in their own individual response, and only a few like there's a bit of overlap. I don't know why it did this.
Right.
It kind of it's giving like percentages for write-ins, which is weird because I don't know if anybody would have ever written the exact same thing, but it happened twice. So this is really
It did
weird.
happen. This is the only time it happened twice. So so yeah, for the most, looks like, would be generally the most spoken about is YouTube.
Yep.
YouTube is, mentioned the most, which makes a lot of sense. There's a
Yeah.
lot of content creators, uh, just just trying to usurp each other into this endless blood war of content creation.
Yes. Uh, I think we could generally, yeah. There's like looking through them all. It's a lot of YouTube, a lot of Reddit seems to be popular.
There's Reddit as well, which is yeah, I don't know if it'll be a notorious note for me, but I don't go to Reddit. And you know what? I'm
Yeah.
okay with that.
Yeah. I don't know what.
I'm okay with it.
Do you know what Open Critic is? I've never heard of this actually.
I've never heard of that,
Okay, because
yeah.
we got it
We
twice, so that's
we
interesting.
do have some folks from overseas, so
Oh,
there could
true.
be some European publications
Mm-hmm.
listed here. There
Mm-hmm.
is Eurogamer, I see that.
Yep. Okay.
Uh,
Here's actually an answer that I think we could probably talk about. We could just get out of the way because it's another elephant in the room. But somebody put in Metacritic, and
okay.
how do you feel about Metacritic?
like basically how I stated my the intro to how I generally feel about review sites. I just don't think about it.
Yeah.
I,
Okay.
I it
Yeah.
just doesn't cross my mind. It really
Yeah.
doesn't. I did like that score, even if it's good or bad, doesn't affect me. Like
Yeah.
if somehow I were to hear about a review for a game I like from Metacritic, I'd okay,
Yeah.
all right,
If I ever ask like, oh, like uh if a group of people are talking about a game like, oh, like what would you think about it? And someone tells me the Metacritic score, I'm like, that's irrelevant. What did you think about it? Like I don't like an aggregation of like numbers to me is like a really weird way to like I wouldn't say Starry Night is an 8 out of 10 because that's the consensus. That's the aggregate consensus of different artistic critics. Like that's really weird. Um,
right,
but I
right,
also wouldn't do it for films either. You know, and like Rotten Tomatoes has that kind of thing too, right? And
right,
I don't. I think that's really weird. Um, it's interesting from like a data standpoint, right? Like if you just like,
right,
oh, if I want to look back on something and be like, oh yeah, you know what? A ton of people thought Ocarina of Time was a sweet game, but that's like the first step, right? It's like a baby step,
right,
and then I gotta find out more, right? Um,
right,
and the one the the one example of why I think Metacritic isn't is good as a first step, but really you really gotta like keep going with it is Journey. Because Journey for some weird reason, I was looking through this is a while back. I was looking through the scores, I was writing an article about it, and like one person gave it like a 6.5 or something out of 10. I was like, what? And it was
okay,
from like some no name like website. Can't even remember what it was. And their main
uh,
complaint was that it was like doing uh cultural appropriation of Middle Eastern
ooh,
stuff, and I'm like,
that's
I
a
don't
slippery slope.
super slippery, but also like not really. I don't under game has no words. Like I was just like, I don't know what the
Yeah,
hell we're talking about here, but it affected the score, so it
right,
has to bring the thing down. So it's in that sense, it's interesting to like get like these outliers. I thought that was really
mhm,
cool. Like I was like, oh, I can pinpoint this this perspective that is super like against the grain, right? It really stands out.
right,
It's pretty interesting to do that. But then the next step, there has to be a follow up. Like if you're gonna stop there, then I would implore you to do more. You know?
that's right.
Um, but
Do your
yes,
research.
yeah, or
If it's
just play
something
the
you care about,
yeah,
yeah, play the game.
just play the fucking game. Uh, all right, on to the next one.
So, yeah, we get yeah, just the mainstream, a lot of YouTube, a lot of, uh,
Reddit.
Reddit. Rev one person wrote in, "Reddit launched a review compilations and comments." Oof.
Oof, that's a lot. What
That's raw. That's
it's
raw real-time feedback.
right. So that's so I don't really I haven't read it. I've written like two things for it. Didn't really like the way it panned out. I felt like it's one of those things that like it's like multiplayer shooters for me. It brings out the worst. Just like I don't want to be that guy. And I was already feeling like
Yeah,
the inclination, right?
right,
To
right.
just dive
It
into
needs
cynicism and just be like shitty to people. I was like, I gotta not let's not do that. Let's just have it and walk away. But like the idea of like launch day review compilation, that's actually kind of interesting because you're if you're getting like a live kind of reaction from all kinds of people, that I can see a
right.
value in that for sure. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know. I guess
It gets messy when, like,
if there's like
uh,
more like
if the
stigma
game
or
if
something.
yeah, if the game is by a certain publisher or, like, a notorious publisher for that matter, and, if the game just doesn't run well, that's all that Reddit will turn into is just telling the poor people running that Reddit how bad that game is.
Yeah.
So and,
Yeah, yeah, they have yeah. It's you're right.
'cause
Yeah, there
I think, sorry, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say there's something there's some value you can probably pull from that immediate like zeitgeist impulse, but then there's all you also I think it's beneficial to have the perspective of like I got to pull away from this and then just actually look at it and see to understand why people feel the way they do or to see if these people are I say these people if the the people making the comments and the reviews are adequately expressing why they came to their conclusions, right? Not just the conclusions themselves. I think that's kind of important.
Right.
That's it. That's all I got. What do you got? Oh, mm, inside baseball. Should Okay, yeah, let's do it. Uh,
Okay, so
everybody
yeah.
heard the noise, so it's all good. uh,
Oh, that was
yeah, I'm like, what? Yeah,
I
let's do this.
didn't wanna interrupt you. So,
I'll be the
I
guy.
was,
Well, you do you want
okay.
to set you set it up? You pitch it to me. I'll hit it with the bat. Go for it, buddy.
So, yeah, like, going down this a bit of a rabbit hole here with, like, with how, the crowd perceives something and how that can affect the score going forward because of Metacritic and all these things that are based on individual opinion that just pile up and build up and build up. The Last of Us 2 has an interesting, story with that.
Yeah,
For months before that game even came out, was getting, blasted online,
yeah,
absolutely tarnished. And for multiple reasons, it wasn't just like the leaks. There was a terrible, like, instance for I'm sure any game dev that happens is when information of the game leaks and things get out there that they don't want the audience to know about yet, and they see it and they have no context for it yet
right,
because it's just a snippet, and then it's just all downhill from there because people take it out of context or just it's just a big mess, but also, like, there's the news of, like, crunch mode. That was a big thing for, Naughty Dog is the company who made, The Last of Us. Like, they're, you know, uh, publicly perceived as, like, basically, uh, running slave labor. So,
right.
like, it was a big mess for them. The proper nightmare for anything going on when you're trying to launch a super massive game like The Last of Us 2.
Yeah, I think like and that's part of what I meant was like you. It's important. Like the numbers can mean one thing, but like the motivations behind, especially individuals and not publications, and how they feel about things is important to keep in mind. But yeah, for that game specifically, like I really like those games. I really love the first one. The second one I think is
Yeah,
fucking fantastic, but it is brutal, but it is fantastic. But I went in blind. I didn't know about any of this stuff. I
which is
purposely
good.
just avoided it all, and then I played through it, and I had I guess we gotta say spoilers, right? But like not playing as Joel was like incredibly shocking to me, and
Mm,
it's really brutal. Like it's really like I
right.
was not emotionally prepared for that or any of that, and it meant a lot to how that story played out. And when I was done with it, exhausted as I was, I mean, I was like emotionally just
It's a
drained.
long game.
It's Yeah, dude, it's fucking Moby Dick, that game. It's just grinding at you and just like, yo, revenge sucks. I'm like, I'm
Yeah,
feeling that, man. Um, yeah, when I was
yeah,
all done with it, and then I do my thing. I go back to look at reviews and stuff, and I'm seeing all this stuff. I'm just like, what? It's like people knew this ahead of time? Like,
yeah,
oh, I could totally see why you'd be upset that your main character from the first game is just not gonna be there in the second one. And but then
right,
reading all the other like vitriolic stuff and you know, for sure we should keep in mind how companies treat their employees and all that stuff. Um,
of course.
and I think there's a place to have that conversation. I don't know if game reviews are that space because I think it gets in the way of
For sure.
good critique, and
Right,
you know, and that's a larger meta conversation about separating the creator from the content and all this stuff, and yeah, we can go, that's another rabbit hole that
oh boy,
I don't
yeah.
have enough gear to pull us out of today, but but yeah,
It's a
I think yeah, there's a risk you're taking when you when you're engaging with things without full knowledge, right?
Mhm, right.
And it's something about like I mean we've talked about it, like should we ever review a game if we don't finish it?
Finish it, right,
And it's like for me it's like maybe if I have a really good reason not to finish it. Um
right.
and I think
That's fair. I think
the
that's fair.
the only game I think we've reviewed that we didn't enjoy was Jet,
Jet,
the
yeah, it
far
was
shore.
unfortunate.
Yeah, and I think we all stopped for
The same spot.
yeah, the same spot for kind of the same reasons, and it was like serendipitous. We didn't plan that. We weren't playing together. We were playing
Right.
separately. All came together, including Alec from our server. Shout out to Alec, and um, and yeah, it just kind of like we all had good reasons. Not good, maybe they're bad reasons, but that we had thought out reasons as to what we were disliking from the game and what turned
Right.
us away from the gameplay and all this stuff. It
And
didn't
we
have
had a
to do
discussion about it.
right, and it didn't have to do with like I don't know anything about the developer and all that stuff. And maybe every
I had
developer
a
is
history
terrible.
with maybe, oh my god!
Oh
Oh my
god.
god,
Yeah,
no!
who knows?
No!
But you get what I mean? Like there's a place for those conversations and that seems to be like I would not want to mix up like labor laws with artwork. Like
Mm,
maybe there's a cross section cuz everything kind of crosses over one and another, but there's a there it, um
right,
there I think there's a better place and there are better people to speak about those things. And I don't know
for
if a
sure.
redditor is like, you know, if that's your guy. You know what I'm saying?
Right, because, like, yeah, that it comes down to, like, places like Reddit, and it isn't just Reddit. You could see Reddit as analogous for just the internet itself, right? It's just so, people take a piece of information and they run with it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter if that piece of information is true or not. Like, they'll just go with
Yeah,
it
that yeah, and
because
it's
they can attach to it, and it's something they can, I don't know, either promote or attack, and it just dilutes, and the information is, ruined
yeah.
essentially from there on.
You're gonna make me rant, dude. But like it I feel like this is some shit I learned in like middle school. You know, it's like you can't talk about something if you haven't read it, right? You can't talk about a book
Yeah,
if you don't know what the content is of the book. You can't talk about music if you haven't heard it, right? And
right,
so if someone's like, "Hey, did you know this happens in the game?" and you're like, "What the fuck? It would ruin the game." It's like, "But you haven't played it yet." Then
right.
why not just wait, right?
You just gotta, yeah, just, try to remember, anyone listening, just keep an open mind. And if it is something you're genuinely interested in, that's what it's something you gotta ask yourself sometimes. Are you genuinely interested in this thing?
Mm.
Do you actually care? Do you feel it inside you that you care about this thing? Well, then learn about it. Learn more about it. And if you don't care about it, doesn't matter. The day
Yeah.
goes on. The
Right.
sun still shines.
Yeah, I feel like that's part we're ranting now. Old man time. But it's like what
Yes.
like you I mean, I know we're on a podcast right now, but you don't have to have an opinion about everything. And if you are going to have an opinion about it, like either admit where you're not informed or get informed,
Mhm.
right? You got to
Exactly.
be honest with yourself about what you're talking about and about your where you're coming from. And if but yeah, I think this type of thing, especially with this game, it's an impulsive reaction to I don't like this because this isn't what I wanted. And it's like, well, dude,
Right.
first off, get over it. But second of all, why the hell do you expect everything to be exactly the way you want it to be? Like you gotta y-
Right.
we it's a better world when creators take risks and kill the
Right. Exactly.
fucking you gotta kill your heroes, man. Except for Han Solo. The way they did that was fucking stupid.
That's
Yeah,
true.
but if you do it right, it can
Yeah.
work,
It's a
you know?
it's a difficult thing to do
It's
in
really
in
hard.
the creative
It's
process.
really fucking hard to like
Yeah.
justify like shooting your own foot off, dude. But it's like, but believe it or not, like I mean, in my opinion, and you haven't played it, Mike, so yeah, I'll just keep it short. It fucking worked. It worked in that game.
Yeah.
Holy shit, did it work? Um, and it works so well for me that it's really hard for me to think about playing the first game again because it's like my attachment to that character, I had to kind of
Yeah.
come to terms with like, oh shit, well that's done. And now it's like
Right.
I don't know if I can go back and feel the same way I did the first I don't know 6 7 times I played that first game. Like I don't know if I can, you know. So anyways, uh,
Yeah.
just
Yeah, my history with the game is I did play the first game when it first originally came out, but I did not play the sequel, and it isn't for review reasons or political reasons or anything like that. Uh, it is simply because, I was content where the first game left off. That game is very heavy.
Hmm.
The way it ends, just I thought it was a fantastic game. I
Yeah.
enjoyed it. Um, but I was good. I was done. I felt content where that story ended, and seeing where the angles where the sequel was gonna go, and like realizing where I was in my life in real life, I personally just didn't need that. So
Yeah.
I
No.
didn't need to be dragged down for time that I usually uh like to spend relaxing, enjoying
Yeah.
the
It's not.
video games and
It's not
stuff like
relaxing at
it,
all.
and not to knock that type of game at all, because like
No, you hate it. Just
the,
say it. It's okay.
it's a piece of shit.
Just put it on
Uh,
Reddit. Put it on Reddit right
yeah, I'm on it. I'm on it right now. This is all Texas speech.
now.
Same time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have no interest in playing the sequel. I'm all for having a discussion about it, hearing about it, and all that stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, I'm good.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that situation it was really indicative of like there's a the standards in which that people feel they should live up to. I feel are just are way too low when it comes to publicly speaking. I don't know if it has to do with anonymity or if it has to just if it's just what we would call internet culture, but there's just
I think
something
it's a
about
mix.
it's just
Has to
like
be a mix.
yeah, like you gotta like or maybe we're just taking it too seriously. But it feels
If, I
you
mean,
know
who is it, or who is gonna take it seriously
yeah,
then? If we
that's right.
don't,
If it's not us, then who? Huh? All right, moving
welcome
on.
to welcome to the new podcast.
Yeah. If not us, then who? That's perfect. All right, the next question. Does the something out of 10 scale make sense? So, this game is a 10 out of 10, a 7 out of 10, whatever. This is just
It's so tough
it
to
yeah.
if that makes sense.
So this is we just did a yes or a no. 36% of you said no, it doesn't make sense, and 63% of you said yes, which is I'm surprised by that. I didn't think the majority
I'm
of
personally
people.
surprised as well.
Yeah.
I think it's mostly coming through of like, well, yeah, an 8 means that, like, to the individual.
Right. Yeah.
So, like, but in a broad scale, when Call of Duty is getting a 10,
I don't know what that means. Yeah, and it's also like we've talked about it a little bit before personally, but just like I feel that it's not just a 1 to 10, it's an A, B, C, D, F scale that people are also applying. So when you see like,
right,
oh, this got a 70%, this is like a C. It's like, that's not what
yeah,
1 to 10 means, right? Wouldn't that
right,
be like a 50? But, in
right,
America, in the US, the way the grading scale works, it's 0 to 50% correct on a paper or whatever, a test. It's an F. You failed. And then 50 to
mm,
60%, you get like a D. You suck. And you want a 70 to
right,
80, but it keeps going up every 10%. Um, so to us, it's like, well, it's not even a B. Well, I'm not gonna bother if it's a 7 out of 10. That's 70%. It's like I don't know.
yeah.
Um,
The part that bothers me about it is just the oversimplification, but at the same time, like, I could recognize it, like, this is I've mentioned it before already, just earlier, that, it's a business.
yep.
uh Game journalism is a business. They need to get information out there quickly,
Mm-hmm.
and something easy to digest for the masses, right?
Right.
So a lot of people don't even read the article. They just skip on down and see what that number rating is, because like
Unbelievable.
that's instant face value, what to expect for a lot of people. And so it's just
Yeah.
it's an unfortunate part of it being a business, and
Yeah.
it's just kind of a bummer at the end of the day. Just like, okay, this something that people worked on for years,
Right.
for weeks at a time, just nose to the grindstone, lots of people all involved in this thing. sometimes millions of dollars being spent to make this happen, all being condensed down to a 1 out of 10 scale,
Yeah.
like, it just it kinda sucks, but
Yeah.
it's a it's an understand I it makes sense of why it exists, but it sucks that it does.
It sucks. It's
Basically what I'm getting at.
yeah. I think it sucks that it's given. I feel like it's given a disproportionate amount of weight in how in critique
Right.
space or
Yeah.
not critiques, but like generally how people feel about games. Like it's a it's a 7 out of 10. Like that sounds great.
Yeah.
Anyways, let's get to the responses. So we also asked for follow ups. So they're going to be kind of all over the place. They're going to be either for or against. I don't know how to separate that. We're
Yeah.
this thing is I don't know how the wheels are still on this. So one
It's the
comment said,
Bluesmobile.
yeah. Someone said, because most people use closer to a 4 point system where it's a 10, 9, 8, or 0 to 7. So I guess that's a no response. It doesn't make sense. I agree. I think people
Mm,
don't. That's kind of what I said. Somebody else wrote, I think it does make sense because it gives sort of a TLDR overall opinion on a game without going deep into the review itself. And I think that's fair, I guess. What else? Says it's too often fucking SAT words over here. Amalgamation of disparate concepts that don't average easily. Like yes, you want smooth gameplay, but plenty of players will be fine with lame graphics. Oof, lame. as long as they're
lame.
as long as they're clear. Sometimes sound design can be very important, sometimes it's not at all, etc. Yeah. I think that's also it's kind of what you were talking about. There's so many aspects to the creation of the game that probably get overlooked when when you're consuming or playing the game. Um,
Right.
but I think that's also part of just like you make a thing and it's out there. And if you didn't do a
Right.
good enough job to accentuate the sound, if nobody cares about the sound, it's because your sound wasn't worth caring about, right? So you kind of
Right. That's true.
got to take that blow as well. But same time, if a 7 out of 10, I don't think anybody gives a shit about sound unless it's a music game, right? right? Like it just
Yeah.
doesn't. And then you got to ask, like, when people think about graphics, what do they actually mean? Are they talking about frame rate? Are they talking about polygon count? Are they talking about
Yeah.
colors, art direction? Right. So yeah,
Mhm.
but you're not going to get all that from those numbers. Let's see. Next, it's just a better version of the something out of 5 scale. I guess. Would you prefer a something out of 100? Is that would that make you feel better, Mike?
That would come down to, like, the percentages again, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Fuck. Yeah, it doesn't really make a
Right back to
difference,
there.
right? Yeah.
No.
Um, Someone wrote, an out of 10 grading system can be quite useful within a genre to define how games of a certain genre stack up against each other. This I agree with. However, a perfect 10 is inherently impossible to attain. This I disagree with. And declaring many games as 10 out of 10 titles dilutes the utility of the grading system.
Mm.
I think some games are perfect.
Interesting.
I think some games are perfect.
Yeah,
Mm.
I think it is a subjective matter at the end of the day,
No, no, no. I'm
and I
right.
think
Mike, I'm right. Some games are fucking
oh,
perfect, man. Come on.
okay, okay,
Okay, okay.
okay, okay. But yeah, I do agree that some games are perfect,
Mhm.
and like those games could even have glitches in them because like every game has a glitch. Every game isn't like technically perfectly sound. Uh,
Hmm. Hmm. We'll talk about. I think we'll get into it more in the. There's another question and comment section, um, but would mm, Tetris? I'll just leave it at that. Okay.
it's just
Uh,
as good.
that,
It's just as perfect game. Yeah,
I
but
think it's kind of
I
perfect, right?
think I think you can break that game though.
I think that game could break
That's that
you. Let's move
that
on.
is true. Absolutely true. Facts. Facts.
yes. Somebody else wrote 5 out of 10 would mean an okay game, but in reality, below 7 is usually bad. Yeah, you see, that's what I mean. It's that weird grading, that
Mhm.
weird school grade mentality. Someone said
Yeah.
too small. I don't. Are they referring to our audience size, or I guess the scale is too small?
Ayo.
Someone wrote pretty simple. I think that's rude, sir. I think
Pretty simple to
I
understand. I
think
see.
I'm an onion, all right, and I've got layers. Yeah, I think it is.
We got Shrek
Yeah,
in
they
the
got
office here.
fuck. They have a good point. It is it and it's something you said earlier, right? It's like a simpler way. similar to the TLDR comment. Um,
Right.
Someone else wrote, any other system essentially boils back down to a number out of 10. 5 stars, letter grade, whatever it is, back to 10. But while a lot of publications don't use numbers below 7 all that much, I think it's effective. Even movie reviews still use 4 stars. Yeah, mm, I guess we all think in base 10, right? Because we're human or something.
I
But
guess so, I don't
I
know.
don't fucking know. I'm not a math.
It's a whole psychology
I'm not a
podcast,
math wizard. Fuck. But yeah, I could
no
kind of
rocket surgeon.
moving on. Someone wrote, "It's succinct enough." I like that. Good enough. Um,
It's succinct.
Someone wrote, "Too high." 1 to 4 feels better to me. That way, there's
Interesting.
no middle or neutral. You like it or you don't. That's kind of
Mm,
fair too. But,
yeah.
mm, yeah, I think, yeah, you could, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, I don't know.
that
Hold on.
that one really comes down to weighing the options, because there is no neutral.
Is there no neutral though?
I mean, 1 out of 4 there technically would be, right? I
Right.
mean,
A 2.5.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right. It makes it very easy to understand in a glance, but you have to understand how to read it, especially on Metacritic. Ooh. Not every 90 plus games are that good, for example. Yes, we talked about Metacritic and how that gets influenced. It's a
Mm.
general scale. It works for general thoughts. Oof. I don't know if that was a shot across the
A
bow, but
slight.
but no, that's fair. Yeah, if it's just supposed to be at a glance, if it's just supposed to be just look at it and be like, okay, this is generally like this, then yeah, maybe it shouldn't be something that you care about too much. Maybe,
Right, yeah.
maybe. Um,
Yeah, well, I mean, that's basically what I was saying before, I recognize the business, yeah, it doesn't affect me, so
right.
I'm gonna play the games I wanna play.
And you can't
Um,
stop me. All right.
you can't fucking stop
I'm a
me.
I'm a free man.
Oh god, it sucks, I should've read the
Yeah,
review.
you fucking young goof. Somebody else wrote,
Uh,
the higher the number, the higher the chance I'll like it. Okay. Uh,
alright,
I mean, yeah, I think that that's true if you know what you're getting into, right?
yeah,
Like, you can tell me Call of Duty is a fucking 15 out of 10. I'm like, I bet. I don't know. I'm
I'm
probably not
glad you
gonna like
enjoy
it.
it.
Yeah, I'm not gonna like that shit
Glad you
anyways.
enjoy it, bud.
Just ain't for me. Let's see. Reviews are mostly subjective. True. Some critics may have more time and experience than others playing a particular game, but it's more or less an informed opinion of what they played. Adding a score to it makes it seem like it's a school assignment being graded, which implies there's right or wrong answers. There are right or wrong answers. Not to mention discussion around review scores tend to degrade into heated competitions akin to rival sports teams. Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, I mean, we said the school grading thing. Mm, yeah, I don't know. That's something probably we didn't really point out too much. Is that yeah, the scores kind of do um, they're more divisive than they are. Um, what's the opposite of
Informative?
divisive? No, I would say like it separates more than it brings together, right? Like, well, it's
Oh,
a
yeah,
five.
that's
Well,
true.
actually, it's like a six. Like, I mean, nobody argues between a 5 and a 6, right? But people will lose their minds over a 9 and a 10.
Right.
That's kind of yeah.
Yeah, I
But
get what you're saying, yeah, it's true.
yeah,
Yeah, a lot of people. And again, I think that's all it might just be the psychology behind it all and why it's good business
it's
is
good
because
business.
when something comes out and something that people don't like, they're gonna let you know about it.
Oh
And
boy,
what happens when that happens? Like, they're gonna be flooding comments in, more people are gonna be looking at it, more clicks are had, so I I think it's all a part of the system, you know?
the mic.
It's the man trying to beat it,
Nah,
bring his
it's fun though. I love telling people. Listen. I get so much joy out of declaring that The Wind Waker is a better game than Breath of the Wild. People fucking lose their minds, and it's just like I'm just here to relay the facts, okay? And
and it's not to say that Breath of the Wild's a bad game. We
No, I'm
enjoy
kidding.
those
No, yeah,
games.
like I'm kidding. Yeah, no, but I get what you mean. But yeah, there's the
Wow, big twist.
the yeah, the scoring system. Yeah, I just I don't feel like it says enough, right? Like I'm pretty
Right.
sure I can find some publication that gave both of those games a 10 out of 10, but they're wildly different, right? So
Yeah.
yeah.
And, like, a lot of times pass between the games, that's a factor in it too.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah, what are the that's something that I think a lot of games don't or a lot of reviews don't really talk about much is the context of the game itself, the meta,
mhm,
right? But just like the
that's right.
idea of like this is something I try to explain to people when they're like, "What game is better?" I don't know. uh, Super Mario 3, or Jack and Daxter. Just like even if they're similar, games of themselves are also part of a time and a place, right? So
Right.
I can't say me. I can't say Jack and Daxter has better graphics than Super Mario World. I can't. I don't
Yeah.
objectively. Who the fuck? What? Like I don't even know what we're talking about, right? But also, it's Super Mario World. Moving on. It's too reductive. Sponsored sites have no incentive to use it properly, so no game gets less than a 6 or a 7, and there's no real consistency between publications anyways. This is something I actually brought up in another Discord that I'm in. It's really weird to look at a review for a game with a ad splash behind the actual words, right? On the website. It's like I don't tell me about Armored Core and then tell me where to buy Armored Core on the sides of my screen. Like, hey, I don't trust you now, right? So sorry.
Yeah.
And it's no and is that the fault of the publishers? I don't know. I think that might be more of this kind of feeling that everybody has that everything on the internet should be for free all the time, no matter what. Um,
Mm,
but yeah. And the last one, whew, been reading a lot. For a general
yeah.
audience, it's a good way to quickly convey the impression the game gives. That's fair. I think it's fair.
Yeah, that's fair.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, Mike, do the next one. My trope. Oof.
Yeah, trope.
Ugh.
Alright, so next up we have, who do you find more trustworthy, publications and journalists or independent critics, YouTube creators, bloggers, etc.? This is another, one or the other, 2 options, for independent critics and publications. Publications came in last for 4 votes and 14 votes for independent critics. Uh,
It's a big difference.
yeah,
Big difference.
big difference.
Yeah.
Independent critics are taking over for the big publications. Makes sense. YouTube, it's huge.
Oof.
Anyone can just upload their critiques on it, and there's a shocking amount of really good video editors out there that just make uh, good piecemeal content that's just easy to digest and get the opinion out there. Um, yeah, I'll personally, I'm always just gonna be looking at a YouTuber's review over a main publication. But that wasn't always the case. That's like a recent change for me.
Mm,
Uh, because I remember the days of going to Game Informer, but not necessarily for their game reviews. They would just play games, and I would just it would just be fun to watch them play the game and talk about it.
yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
So like it was right on the beginning of like the Let's Play like
Right.
boom when that before it was even called Let's Plays, right?
Yeah. I
They started doing that.
was kind of the same with I was a big follower of
Right,
giantbomb.com
right.
for a while and even like so, I mean I didn't agree with a lot of like the some of the reviews that they had, but I knew enough to like say like, okay, if this like I was tying the reviews to the personality. So if this guy
Right.
says this game isn't great, well, I kind of because I'm listening to their podcast and I'm seeing them play games and talk about games, I kind of know what their perspective is and I kind of know where their biases are. And I
Mhm.
also know that I'm gonna like Kingdom Hearts 2 because I'm gonna like it, right? And if they're not gonna dig it, that's totally cool. But I can 100% understand why they don't dig it because that shit's batshit, right? It's fucking wild.
They
But
didn't have a Nokia phone.
they didn't. But I love ARPGs, and that's a really good one. Even without so like I understand where I'm coming from as to why I like things. Like I have to think about what it is that I'm enjoying from the game, and then I can. It's a lot easier to understand other people's perspectives and to accept their criticisms so that I can incorporate that into my own and say, actually, yeah,
Mhm.
this story is fucking ridiculous. It doesn't make any
Yeah,
sense. Anybody who picks this game up is going to be lost. They're going to be like, what? Why does Donald Duck
right.
have so many zippers on his hat? And I'm not going to have an answer for them. I'm going to have no answers. I'm going to say
Nobody does.
the answer is
Only
no,
Nomura knows.
Nomura. Yes, Nomura is the answer. Get good luck with that enigma. But but now I can, if I were to, not that I have, but if I were to have a conversation with any of these people, I can tell them actually the best parts of this game have to do with uh the combat, the lack of input delay, the insane amount of like the jump from the first game to the second game when it comes to fidelity and all blah 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 blah. We could talk about all this stuff. Um,
Mhm,
that's super useful. You don't with publications. I think part of the problem is that there's a certain amount of shielding that happens for the journalists that might be necessary, right? So
mhm,
if I'm a critic and I'm going to critique something and write something and publish it, I have to own that kind of responsibility, right? I have to own the responses to that. But
right.
if I want to increase my reach and I want to get healthcare for it and an actual living wage, it might be beneficial to then go to a publication that has that reach and has the business side of that taken care of, right? That's
Right.
why we have jobs mostly, right? It's because there's a bunch of shit I don't want to really care about. Um, but
Mhm,
I need the facilities in order to do these things so I can get paid, right? Whatever, blah blah blah. So
right.
if if that's going to be the case, it's in the best interest of that publication to defend the reputation of the publication itself, less so the journalists working for it. And when you look back far enough at say an IGN or a Game Informer or whomever, you're not looking at the same people. These aren't the same journalists that are there all the time. And you're going to see
Mhm.
differing opinions, and it's really hard to be like, well, IGN gave. I'm just making this up. I don't know. IGN gave Ratchet and Clank a 10 out of 10, but they only gave Super Mario World or Super Mario 3D World an 8 out of 10. So that must mean they think Ratchet and Clank is a better game. It's like you can't, there's too many factors, so much time, all these
Yeah,
things, different people. I can
yeah.
understand that there's less reason to go to these publications besides um I would say access to the developers themselves and just like
Mhm,
insider stuff, right? I think they get to go to these trade shows. They get to
right.
speak directly with and get hands-on time with the developers. I think that's really useful. Um,
Right.
and that's where they're I think that's where their value lies more so than the reviews necessarily.
Right. They get that industry access.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or it I mean, even now, like, there's a lot of, like, mixing of it too, because like, the industry is, actively affecting, content creators too, right? So,
Yep.
like, they'll early access to the games, even, like, just getting to talk to them,
Yeah.
like, over email, even if it's just that, like, solo creators just have, or, like, they just have all these things for them now if if they are one of the few that do get to be so lucky to have all those views, all those subscribers, and everything like that.
Yep.
Uh,
And if any of
it's
those
a
devs want to make us lucky, go for it. You can send some
hey,
keys our
we
way. It's
love
all good.
being lucky. It
Oof.
sucks being unlucky.
It's
Hate being unlucky. Damn.
all right. Okay. So this is the additional comments, questions, free speak, I guess, part of the survey. We're just asking if you guys want to say anything else or have anything that you want us to address. Uh, this is where we'll do that. Not that we've been doing that for like an hour. Um, so someone wrote, uh, I don't, I'm not gonna look. Oh, maybe should we do this individually? This is inside baseball. Maybe we. Not everybody signed it actually, so it's not important.
Right, right.
Um, let's see. What? Where was the? No, I lost it. I'm back. Okay. Someone wrote, I don't have an answer for the trustworthy thing because I don't think anyone is especially trustworthy. I guess that was for
Ah,
the last question.
uh,
Sure, people are.
yeah.
Some people are probably trustworthy.
Yeah, I mean, it just comes down to you pick your flavor, you know?
Yeah,
It's like if you like somebody, then
yeah.
you're probably gonna like their opinions at least to some extent,
My
right?
mom's
So
super trustworthy. Just put that out there. I think she's she's a peach.
there
She's
you
the best.
go.
Okay, all right.
Yeah,
Yeah. If you need something, you can trust my mom. She'll. Uh,
yeah.
next. I feel people generally have an idea for what they'll like going into something. They're prepared beforehand. Mike, did you write this? Are you participating in the?
I mean,
Okay,
I mean,
maybe.
hey,
Uh, someone
moving on.
someone asked a question of us. Do you feel a letter-based grading system, A plus to F, for example, would be able to compete with the out of 10 grading? How do you feel pre-release review embargoes affect public and player perception on a game? What do you think, Mike?
Uh, that's a tough one. It,
Mm.
it could potentially be better than the 1 out of 10
Yeah.
in some cases.
Hmm.
I mean, would you go to S rank? Would you go to double
Yeah,
S
that's what
rank?
I'm talking about, baby. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I say
So
get rid of get rid of F and just put E. You know what I'm saying? Why do we
yeah,
skip
yeah,
E? I don't get it. The hell is that? A B C D F? What are we talking about?
yeah.
Do you remember? I don't know if you remember this, Mike. This is old people time. Do you remember on your report card where you would get like you get a grade for effort? Remember that shit?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And then they'd put like an E or something else. What was it? It was like an E
I
or
never got the
what? I don't.
'cause I didn't put any effort in.
No, I don't know what I got, but I remember like
They circled where the achievement was supposed to go, and they said, "This is where the achievement could have been
right,
if
right,
you
right.
had it."
Dude, I
So
remember like I would use the effort was my saving grace because I would be like, "Oh, listen, I got a D, but damn, mom, I tried. Look, there's proof. She thinks I tried." And just like I just watching my dad just roll his eyes and like, "Oh, you're so full of shit." Like, dude, come, it's geometry. Come on, I'm trying. What was
Hey, a
that?
D
That was
for effort,
terrifying.
eh? Right, Peps?
Did you hear that noise?
D.
Oh no, it's Siri. No, stop it. Okay, sorry. It's just like it dinged me out. It was like enough.
Oh,
Okay.
no. Bad jokes.
But this is a good question though. The second question is really good. How do you feel about pre-release review embargoes and how they affect perception of the game? I think the less we know, the better. If
Yeah,
I think there's like you don't want to give the whole bag up. You know what I mean? Unless
yeah.
it's like, yeah, I don't know. There's
It
some
it
things you'll find out as you play, but if it's like a
yeah,
narrative thing, I think the less is better. The less is better.
absolutely, yeah.
Um,
Some people just like I think that kinda coincides with trailers a bit, you know,
oh
because
yeah,
like, trailers, I find the ones I wanna see are always just, like, the snippet. I
yeah,
wanna see the what draws me in, what makes me interested, but it doesn't need to be everything
yeah.
that's gonna draw me in. All I need is one thing to draw me in, and I'll be sold, right? Like, I
Yeah.
don't need that's why I usually always avoid trailers, like, close to launch day,
Mhm.
because like, launch trailers are the
Oh,
absolute worst.
oh,
The
they're the
absolute worst. They
fucking
show
worst.
so much.
They just
It's
tell
like,
you what it is. They tell you the whole
I'm
thing. It's
gonna
like
play this. I'm gonna play this 12 hours from now, please.
just like
Please
in
let me
Assassin's
play
Creed, you will be assassinated. Like I fucking know. Just go on. Come
it.
on. I'll figure it out.
And then you'll be in Atlantis. What?
What?
What do you
Ah,
mean?
this is crazy. Yeah. Just like was it Mario Wonder? He became a elephant. I'm like, I'm in. We're done. We're done here. We're packing it up. Okay, I don't need to know anything else. I
Yeah,
don't care. This is enough. It looks
yeah,
great. Yeah, I agree. I think narrative stuff they should just less is more in that sense. When it comes to like
absolutely.
mechanics, it depends on the game. You know, if it's a shooter, you want to know if there's a unique, if you got something, if you have a selling point that is unique to the game, then I think that should be
Yeah,
upfront. If you're trying to like separate yourself from the pack, right? But
yeah,
um, less is better. Less is better, and frankly, less is safer because how
Absolutely,
many
yeah.
times do people get burned for things or overspeak like No Man's Sky, right? Like they said too much, they overpromise, and damn, have they fulfilled those promises now? But that
Insane.
that game can't get over this like bad rap it had, right? And
Yeah, the very beginning.
I blame Stephen Colbert. Anyways, next,
Anyways, moving.
anyway, I think 100 is 100 when you add decimal concept change completely. What do you think? I'm not sure what that means. Uh,
I'm
but
not sure.
I think what they're trying to say is like it doesn't matter if it's 100 or if it's 10, you know, like or it does
Yeah.
matter. It might mess with your head if it's like 1 out of 5 or I don't know,
Yeah, yeah,
10 out of
it comes down
100 or
to the
whatever.
individual again,
Yeah.
so it's just what those numbers mean to you,
I'll save this next
and
one for later. Someone
okay.
put I still put more faith in publications than independent critics, though I feel like publications speak to me less and less these days. They're definitely independent critics I highly value, but less for review score and more for an in-depth breakdown of specific aspects of a game. That I agree with. I think like you were saying earlier, the whole let's play thing, uh, very
Mhm.
helpful. Someone else wrote, I feel like watching streams makes me more likely to want to play a game, even if it has bad reviews or it's not my normal kind of game. I will say this little personal tidbit about Oliver over here. I have
Okay.
I have a lot of trouble watching streams, and it's not so much that like I don't like streamers or I don't like
Yeah.
whatever. It's that I don't like watching people play something I could just play. I rather just play. Right? To
Yeah, yeah,
me, it feels like I'm just waiting for someone to give me a controller. I'm just like, oh my god, come on,
yeah.
is your turn over? Can I? So
Yeah, anytime I watch streams, they're just purely for just other things, for games I'm not gonna play or just for the talent that are
yeah.
in the stream and that type of thing.
Sometimes though, I do like to go into games where I know I'm like super good at and like give tips. And it's actually how we made friends with Alec. He was playing Metal Gear Solid
Oh,
5. I was super tired and I was like, I don't want to play anymore. I was watching him play and I was like, hey man, if you go around the corner, there's a spot where you can snipe, but you got to sneak around. You got to get up high. It's really hard to do. And like helping him do it, he's like,
yeah.
"Holy shit, that's amazing!" I'm like, yeah, bro, no problem. And then we became friends. So that was cool. So like, I think streaming's cool if you can make these kind of interactions. But for the most part, like, I just
Right.
I don't really want to watch people play a thing that I'm playing unless I'm done with it already
Right,
or
right.
whatever. Um, all right, let's see what else. I feel like watching streams. Oh wait, I read that. Uh, let's see. What is the reason for the low level of journalistic acumen? Holy shit. Look at this guy over here. Oh my God. He
God
said
damn.
acumen. That seems prevalent among standard gaming publications. Is there space in the market for more in depth writing? How can we find trustworthy sources in an internet dominated by bots, corporate sponsors, and SEO trickery?
Wow.
Boy, get this guy on the
Loaded,
show. Holy shit.
loaded.
All right. First question. What is the reason for the low level of journalistic acumen that seems prevalent amongst standard gaming publications? I think what they're referring to is this kind of like journalism mode shit we were talking about before. Like how
Mhm.
can are journalists capable to accurately or skillfully play through games and accurately speak about them? I think that's a big thing. If I wouldn't trust someone's I wouldn't trust someone's opinion on something if I didn't think they could do it well, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that makes sense.
but there's also I don't know. It's difficult because there are a lot of incentives when it comes to journalism, and especially games journalism because it's a big business, and you
That
got
business.
that business is going to mess things up. So, um, as far as journalistic acumen, I think there's just not. The incentives are crossed, and there's not a lot of like, what do you call it? I'm sure there are like best practices, but there's certain like you shouldn't you shouldn't be doing like I can't believe you too much, like I said before, about your Armored Core review if you're posting ads for Armored Core, right? Because they're lining your pockets. Maybe not
Right.
your pockets specifically, but like there's gonna be
The
pressure.
publication.
Yeah,
Mhm.
like that's just the way it goes. So I think I think if there were more how do I say this without sounding totally like, um I think the higher
Yeah.
end of the skill base for journalists would avoid these types of things, right? Because
Mhm.
there's a reputational cost, right? And so
Right.
right now the reputational cost isn't that high, even though it can seem like it is when people point out like one or two people who make a
Yeah.
bad review or blah 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 blah. But inevitably, if you're tied to a publication, it's going to fall in the publication, right?
Mhm.
Like I joke about Kotaku all the time. I don't know any of their
Yeah.
writers. I don't know any of them.
Right.
I don't follow any of them. I'm not interested. But like they have a reputation, right?
They do.
And so that's gonna that to me, that's I'm sorry, that's just the lens. I'm gonna see it first and I'm gonna go, and I'm gonna roll my eyes. I'm like,
Yeah.
of course, whatever. And then I'm gonna
Yeah.
go
It's
away.
always the damn article names, man.
Oh
Every
god.
time.
Oof. It's rough. Uh but yeah, that's my opinion. I think if you want better people to do a better job, you have to have a better environment that won't challenge their journalistic or artistic integrity, right? Like nobody wants to do a job where they're going to a public job, a public facing job where they're going to be scrutinized to an insanely high degree for what seems like for most journalists not like the high, it's not a huge payout job, right? Um,
Right.
so yeah, I guess there's like a balance of that.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense.
Is there a space in the market for more in-depth writing? I think that, well, I hope, but I think that it's less in-depth writing and more in-depth analysis generally, and we're finding that on
Right.
YouTube and stuff like that, on other alternative platforms to uh, publications and
Mhm.
podcasts, like the Nowhere to Go podcast. Uh,
Like and subscribe.
like this. Can we find trustworthy sources in an internet dominated by bots, corporate sponsors, CEO trickery? Man, that is like that's the it's messy, right? Uh,
Yeah.
the bots thing fucking blows my mind. I felt like such an idiot. Like, it was not long ago where I was listening to a conversation about like Twitter and all that craziness, and just like looking into like the amount of bots and shit. It's just like,
Yeah.
oh my god, like, ugh, and just like follower count and all this stuff. Which is why on our podcast we don't care that much about that stuff because we're more interested in like the conversation. But
That's right. Yeah.
it's really like it's hard. I don't know. I don't know how. I don't know. Just listen to us. What's up?
Just us.
Yeah.
Hey, there's bots everywhere else. Where are you gonna go?
Where are
You
you
got
gonna go?
nowhere else to go.
Nowhere to go. We're glad you're here.
Yeah.
But no,
Have a
I think
nice
what takes
have a
the
nice
place of that, honestly, is just the conversation. It's just drilling and just as individuals pushing to be intellectually honest about what it is you're doing.
right.
All right, Mike, go ahead. Sorry.
So yeah. That's uh
Yeah,
yeah, I guess it's just ultimately like I- it really is just hard to trust like, publications.
people.
Right. It just really is difficult. So yeah, it just comes down to the self initiative of how you take that information and what you're gonna do with it.
Yeah, I think it's just it's more work on your part, right? It sucks.
Yeah, which that's not why you go to publications. You don't want to work.
Right.
That's why you're going there in the first place.
Right. So,
So
I mean, I don't know. I get in some
just play
ways.
the game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just play the game.
In some ways, it's like the answer for me is it's multiple. There are multiple answers. Don't first be the change you want to see. Right. If you want to have more serious conversations about games, facilitate those conversations. Right. Join our Discord or
Right.
make your own Discord and talk about these things. Put out your own videos. Put out your own
Yeah.
content if you really want to think about these things.
If
Support the
you care
people.
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Support the people who do. And
Yeah. Which I do want to shout out. Like, if you have any independent critics that you like, do you have any in mind,
me.
Oliver?
Mm, sorry, my throat's drying up. I'm trying not to like die over here. um, honestly, not. I don't really watch many reviews. The only two I can think of right off the top of my head that I watch consistently, not consistently, but I've watched a lot of. One would be it's called the Geek Critique. I think that's what it is.
Okay.
He does a lot of he critiques older games, mostly like Sonic games and like Dreamcast era
Okay.
stuff. But the way he
I
talks
gotcha.
about like that era of gaming, it's like super nostalgic for me because I'm like, dude, I know exactly what you're talking about. When he's like, the
Yeah.
VMU was awesome, I'm like, yo, bro, it fucking is, man. It's amazing. And the future, what happened, right? Um, but like the way he talks
Yeah.
about games, he critiques the game. He also talks about the context in which the game was made and the sequels and the prequels, blah blah blah. So
Oh, that's cool.
yeah, I think like he gives a very big he gives a fuller picture than most people would. Um, the other one I watch, ooh, controversy, is Donkey, just because it's it's pretty funny. Like I find him pretty funny when he does the comedic stuff. I'm gonna say like
Yeah.
50%. 50% of the time I find him funny, but also when he does the critique stuff, it to me it always comes from it feels honest. And uh, like when he did his Death Stranding stuff, I fucking
Yeah.
loved Death Stranding. It is top
Yeah.
5 easy for me, and he hated
Yeah.
it, and
He hated it.
I couldn't hold it against him. Like, no, I get you, dude. Like, this is not your fucking game. This is not for you.
Yeah.
Do not play this
I
game.
mean, the footage he was showing, he was playing the game.
Yeah, dude. It was like,
That
yeah,
was pretty rough to watch.
right. And so that's a good example of like he didn't
Uh,
develop the skill set that the game was asking of you, so he was having a hard time with it. So should
he was
he be
brute forcing it.
Yeah. So should he be the guy to critique it? I don't think we should
Yeah,
stop him, but that's something you gotta
yeah,
like you would only know after the fact.
yeah,
Right? When he talks about like driving sucks, it's like build roads. What are you doing? Like
yeah,
don't yeah, of
yeah,
course it sucks in that in a on the side of a mountain with, basalt and shit. Like this is the worst place to drive. You're crazy.
yeah,
But but I can also see his perspective of like the gratification comes too late. And for him, that's a deal breaker. It's like, okay,
I see,
totally
yeah,
makes sense. But then he came back later and
yeah,
talked about how much he was liking it, but he was reluctantly liking it. I'm like, all right, coming around, cool.
right, and
And
but I think he beat it, like, 3 times.
something crazy like that, yeah. And so
Uh,
that to me, even though he says controversial shit or he's a whatever, that to me shows that he's doing a bit of due diligence when it comes to talking about things and giving them their due time. Um, but he's
yeah,
also pretty funny, so that's why I enjoy watching. Is there anybody
that's a
you
plus.
yeah, anybody you like to that you follow or
I did wanna mention Splattercat Gaming. Splattercat, he focuses on indie games mostly,
okay.
and, he'll release multiple reviews or just, like, looks at games, uh over the week, multiple times, and, he's just every time, man, I'm always impressed with his ethic of how he talks about games, and basically, he has always spent time with the game before talking about them, and then he plays them live as he's talking about the systems in real time.
Yeah.
And, like, he explains it so plainly, so eloquently at the start of every one of his videos about, he's here to talk about indie games, he's here to see if they're worth your time or money, and, do all this thing and give you the ins and outs in a nice, concise little package in 30 minutes. That's it. And it's, he could just talk for 30 minutes straight, and that's also a thing, is especially, like, we have no problem talking to each other, but just being one person
Oof.
talking to nobody
Yeah.
is so damn hard.
Can't do it.
So it's always super impressive to me for anyone who can do that, who can just run a solo ship and just talk
Mm.
and be informative. It- this guy does it all, in my opinion, as far as like indie reviews. Uh, he just does a really damn good job. Uh, Big shout out to him.
Big shout outs to what was it? S-
Splattercat Gaming.
I was about to say Scratchy Cat Game. Splatter Cat. All right, cool. Um, let's see. I guess. Oh, that was the last question. Wow, we did it.
Yeah. Or well, we there was the
Oh,
no
sorry.
thank you.
Yeah, someone wrote no, thank you. So, you're welcome. Uh,
All right.
yeah. So, um, I think we kind of covered everything we wanted to say about it. I don't,
Yeah, I would say so.
I want to beat a dead
Remember
horse.
the good old days? Remember the good old days of how publications were the main thing you'd go to. I still
Mhm.
fondly look back on Game Informer. Uh, it was a matter of personality because like those guys, they love playing games. They love writing about them. And they had a guy for each type of game.
Yeah,
Like there was the guy who did the Souls games. There was a guy who did the Resident Evil games,
right.
survival horror type games. They had a guy for shooters. They had a guy for the Rockstar games. So like
I want to
you
say,
got that
yeah,
good.
I want to say, I think OneUp.com used to have this kind of system. I might be wrong, but they somebody at some point had this system where they'd have two reviewers, right? And they'd have the person who was into it and the person who was like new to it, right? Or less
Interesting.
experienced.
That's cool.
And that made all the difference because when I would read about like, I don't know, fucking time splitters or some shit, I'd be like, I don't know what the fuck this game is about. And then there'd be like,
Yeah,
yo, this is one of the best third person shooters, blah, 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 blah. And then somebody else is like, yeah, this is pretty fun. It's a little hard for me because it's kind of weird, but whatever. Like, okay, cool. I totally get that, right? If somebody like a good example would be like Pikmin 4, not into it. I love Pikmin 3, but Pikmin 4 did some with the multiplayer that I thought was like not great. If somebody
mm,
didn't mention that in their Pikmin 4 review, if they didn't have the context to know what the other games did before, I probably would have just picked it up and been disappointed, right? I
I
think
see.
I think having those kind of points of view or having the right people to talk about the right games is very important.
That's
So
right.
saying that, look forward to my review of NBA 2K24. What are they on? 2024.
2023.
I think they do a game later, a year later, right? Isn't it like the
We're
roster?
going back.
Oh,
We're going back
two
to 2020.
2K 2020, baby. It's happening. That's not how you say that.
It's in the
2K20.
game.
It's yes. I give it 3 boom shakalakas out of 5.
And we're going back to Jet too.
No, no, I'm
Jet
not.
for sure.
No, I'm fucking not, dude. Yeah,
It's a great soundtrack. Great soundtrack.
that was all right. That was all right. Yeah, that's
Great soundtrack with context.
sure. Okay, I think I'm done. I don't want to talk anymore. You good?
Yeah, I'm done too.
I'm tired.
We're done.
That was fun. Hey, big shout out. I got
We
to shout out a few people.
we got three people
We got
here
3 people.
who
We
wrote
got,
in their name.
yeah, your friendly neighborhood taco. Thank you.
Hey, thank you, Taco. Appreciate you.
Rallister the Magnificent.
Yes,
I believe
I
it.
agree.
I believe it. Bad token. I don't believe it. I don't believe.
Oh,
He's a good token. He's a
yeah, good token.
fine token. Okay.
You wake up when you hear this podcast, you wake up in the morning, you listen to us talk for too long, and
Yeah,
then you look at yourself in the mirror, you say, "You're a good token.
you did it. You're the
You
right
did
one.
it."
Uh,
That's right.
I also got to shout out a few communities who helped us out. True Gaming community, r/True Gaming. Not I didn't go to the Reddit. I just went to their Discord. Don't get mad at me, Reddit. Inclusive.
Have to preface it. Have
Yeah,
to preface
gotta
it.
preface it. Inclusive. I don't want to get specific. Inclusive nerding. Really cool Discord
Yeah.
community, and the last one is mashed buttons gaming, a small group of dudes and gals who play games together, and they're supportive. So, check those guys out, and check us out. Look at
Check
us.
us out.
Look at
Look at
us,
us. We're impressive.
man.
We're
Whoa.
so good looking.
I wouldn't.
Damn.
I would not go that far. I would.
We gotta beat them away with a stick. Got too many people.
You know what?
Too many people want us.
They're also supplying the sticks, oddly enough. So I don't. I don't know what that
Oh,
says.
wow.
What? um, yeah. All right. If you've made
So
it this,
what do we got? What do we got coming up?
I don't
We
know. What
got
do we got? We got
we
Ace
got
Combat that just came
yeah,
out
Ace Common.
yesterday. We got another one coming out soon. I'm playing
Yep,
through it. Mike's my wingman, and that game is batshit
that's right.
crazy. I don't fucking understand any of this. It's ridiculous.
It's a real good trip.
Um,
Um,
What else? We've got
We also we're gonna talk about Sea of Stars,
eventually, yeah.
and then we have TGS happening.
True. I didn't want to brag,
TGS.
but I'm going to Tokyo Game Show. What?
Look at
Uh,
this guy.
this
He's
guy.
going. I
I'm gonna
can't go.
I'm gonna try to film things. I don't know if they'll let me, but I'll pretend like I don't understand what they're saying and just be like, huh? And
And
I
then
don't
we'll
know.
talk about it after.
Yeah. Fingers crossed for some Monster Hunter stuff, please.
Oh, it's
Please.
gotta happen.
It's gotta happen
Gotta
there
happen.
because I'm gonna be there. And come on,
We're gonna have
Capcom.
the well, you're gonna know before you go too, because the press event's a couple
Right,
days
yeah.
before.
I'll be there the
So
Sunday, so it'll be the last day for the for open to the public day. So I'll know what's up. If there is if there's anything you guys want me to check out that gets announced, let me know and I'll try to make lines
yes,
for
yes,
it.
right in.
Yeah.
So
But yeah, I think TGS and well, I don't know, more podcasts will come. If you have any
yep,
suggestions,
yeah,
put it in the comments. Join the Discord, the description. It's in the description, the links and all that stuff. If you made it
that's
this
right.
far, let me just thank
Thank
you.
you.
Yeah, big thanks. It's really
Yeah.
to us, it's really fun to have these conversations. Uh, but we're also gonna have them anyways, like whether
That's
y'all are
right.
listening or not. So it's super cool to like to be able to get feedback from you guys. The survey stuff, I'm really digging it. I love
Yeah,
hearing back from people and hearing their own thoughts and all that. And the more we talk about this type of stuff, hopefully, the better things can get. Because it's rough out there, folks. You know,
that's
and
right.
I just want things to get better. You know what I'm saying?
Who doesn't?
Who doesn't?
Who doesn't?
Who done it? And that's it. I got nothing else.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
That's
We're
a wrap.
done. All right. Thanks,
That's it.
everybody. We'll see you guys later. See you on the
Goodbye.
next one. Adios.
Take care.